Welcome back to the channel today, guys. And you know, when we talk about Danmachi and character development, we're typically talking about Bell. You know, he's the main character of the show, so of course, he's going to get a lot of time to shine, and he's going to grow as a character. But today, we focused on Welf, who really hasn't had much development over the course of the series. And I think he really comes into his own completely in this episode today, and it was great to see, honestly. And you know, I don't want to jinx it, but I'm thinking things are finally starting to really look up. You know, Bell and Ryu finally have a plan to get out, and we've seen Team Hestia's fire has been relit yet again for like the 5th time in their search for Bell. And it's fairly positive right now. But with my luck, someone's going to die next episode, and it's just going to throw that all out the window. But hopefully not. But anyway, let's get straight into it today and talk about Danmachi, Season 4, Part 2, Episode 5 today. So our episode today already begins with some good news, as we see Ryu is able to heal herself and actually get back up on her own 2 feet. As she tells Bell, I still believe using my magic on you would have been the better option. But Bell tells her, look, we've already discussed this, Ryu. Being able to walk on your own is more important, and it makes things easier on me, too. Which I completely agree with. Even if he's fully healed, if he had to drag her around with him, she literally would kind of be a burden at that point. So it makes far more sense for her to heal herself so they can both walk. As she tells Bell, then I guess we've reached an impasse. We're both too stubborn to budge. And now that Ryu's healed, we gotta go over everything that's happening right now. Like, the situation as it is now, as she says. Alright, judging by our surroundings, we're on the 37th floor. It seems that we are without a doubt in the White Palace. However, I can't figure out which area of the floor we're on. We're lacking on both equipment and items. Should we persist in our journey and come up against deep floor monsters, our chances are very slim. We have no potions nor a means of receiving medical treatment. So until my mind gives out, we're going to have to rely on my healing magic as best we can. As Bell asked her, would it just be better for us to wait here for someone to rescue us then? As Ryu tells him, I wouldn't get my hopes up. I can tell we're not anywhere near a normal route. And even if your friends were to catch wind about our whereabouts, Bell, there's no way they can make it here by themselves. And that's harsh, but that's very true, honestly. As Ryu says, so if we stay here, eventually, we're gonna end up just like them. And it's here as we transition back to Team Hestia. We see that Welf has started forging the sword. As Boris says, forging the weapons in a dungeon. That man's definitely got a screw loose. As Aisha tells him, it's too late to chicken out now, Boris. We're kind of in the long haul at this point. As Oka tells Oris, we have to trust him. He's risking his life to forge that sword. So we'll use it to get out of this mess. And at this point, that's the truth. Like, what do they really have to lose, you know? Let him try to do the sword at this point. Things can't get worse. As Lily tells him, it's our only chance of survival. Our one and only chance at saving Bell. As Aisha says, we all gotta die sometime, you know? So if you want to make it back home, better hold on to that shield real tight. But it's here, unfortunately, our conversation gets cut off by the appearance of monsters, as everyone has to assume their position. And it must suck to have to be the guard to hold them back. Because at this point, Oris is just like, screw it, make the damn sword, let's just get this over with. And it's here as we see everyone is fighting hard to keep the monsters at bay for Welf. Welf's having some trouble as he's like, this is what adamantite's like? Give me a break. He's having a really hard time forming it. As he says, am I not strong enough to shape this stuff? But we'll come back to Welf in due time, because it's here we transition back to our strategy meeting, as Ryu says, alright, we should head to the tunnel that leads up to the 36th floor once we get out of here. As Bell asks her, so, we're going to the lower floors right now, and she says yes. The deep floor's first safety point isn't until the 39th floor. Climbing down 2 floors in order to reach a safety point would be far more difficult. Of course, even if we make it there, it's not guaranteed to be safe. But at least the lower floors will have water, nuts, berries, fruit, etc. That gives us a much higher chance of survival. And if this plan of theirs works, they will definitely be safe for the time being, so we'll have to see. And it's here Belle tells her that we're not entirely sure how to get to that connecting tunnel from here though, are we? As she tells him no, that's our problem. Our journey will probably be an unpleasant one as well. From here on out, each of our choices could mean the difference between life and death. We'll have to use my magic sparingly. We'll try to save it for when death is the only alternative. As she says, and unfortunately, if we're going to do this, we'll need to procure more items and equipment. As she tells Belle, we'll have to strip the corpses of their gear. And of course, Belle starts freaking out here naturally, but she tells him, we're going to strip the corpses of their gear and take what we need for our own use. We're putting fellow adventurers slain by the dungeon to good use. We don't have a choice in the matter. And naturally, Belle is against this, obviously. It's disrespectful to him. But it's here as he sees Ryu having to strip the body. He realizes that this isn't easy for her at all. As he says, for a noble elf like her, this is torture. There's no way this isn't killing her inside. As Belle realizes she's doing this to survive. She's doing this for me. And it's here that Belle realizes that this is what has to be done to survive, as he does start looting the body, as he says, I'm sorry, but I want to make it home in one piece. And as the body falls over and we see the head roll, Belle says, this is the dungeon. This is what it means to be an adventurer. And it's here we see Belle make a vow to himself, as he says, anything I say now is just an attempt to rationalize my actions, but please let me say them anyway. I'm going to live life enough for all of you. I can't ask for your forgiveness, but because of you with your help, I know we can escape the deep floors. I swear we will make it back to the surface. And, I can understand Belle's hesitation to an extent. How he wouldn't want to do this, and normally you wouldn't do this, but in a situation like this, Ryu has said it multiple times, it's a literal do or die situation. Sometimes you have to do what you gotta do. And I'm glad he didn't drag his feet too much on that, because in this situation, there's no time for hesitation. And it's here as we see all the things they were able to loot from the bodies. Ryu says, our most valuable discovery is probably this, as she shows a map. Which I think is a little convenient, but whatever. As Ryu says, it's incomplete, but it covers a fairly large distance, and it depicts the details of our surrounding area. If we know which routes are dead ends, then we won't have to scope them out ourselves. As Belle says, alright, so if this is the room we're in right now, do we have any idea which part of the floor this maze is on? As she tells him no, the 37th floor is massive. It runs almost as wide as the whole of Oreo. That's a gigantic floor, by the way. If the 37th floor is like this, what is the absolute bottom? Is it just an underground world or something? It spans the whole world? That's kind of wild to think about. As Ryu tells him, I don't recognize the area shown on this map anyway. But I've been to the deep floors countless times. I remember what the normal routes look like. If we follow the map and use it to guide ourselves back to the dungeon's normal route, then I 100% can lead us to a connecting tunnel. As she tells Belle, I don't know what we're going to need, but let's bring as much gear as we can carry with us. And it's here as they're getting ready to depart. Ryu shows Belle that the map they have was actually drawn on the back of their familia's emblem. As she says, I can't quite make it out, but these guys must have been really desperate. They probably didn't have anything else to draw the map on. And it's here Belle tells Ryu, let's bring this banner back to the surface with us. We have to make it home for them. And as they say one final goodbye to them, they embark on their long journey through the dungeon. And I like this scene a bit, because that's why I decided to include it, because these adventurers did technically save their lives by being dead around them so they could loot them. So I think it would be the respectful thing to do to bring the banner back, to kind of honor them in a way. I think it was good. I like this scene. But it's here as we transition back to Team Hestia. Things are starting to get a little hairy. The monsters are getting more intense as Welf still can't shape this piece of metal as he says, "What the hell am I doing? We don't have time for this." And it's here as Welf is hammering away. We get a very introspective scene of him where we really break him down as he thinks to himself, maybe this was a dumb idea, crafting a weapon in the dungeon. Did I overestimate myself? Did I just want to be the first person who's ever done it? Did I promise something that I can't deliver and make my closest friends stake their lives on it? And it's here Welf thinks of Hephaestus again as she asks him, "Let me ask you again, is your fire burning bright?" As Welf says, "Oh, it's burning all right. Hotter than the frickin' sun. I'm pouring all my strength, all my skills, all of my pride as a blacksmith into it." But it's here we start really pulling the layers back of Welf as we hear, "You sure about that?" As we see he himself appears and says, "Remember what your family used to say. Listen to the metal's voice. Let it sound ring in your ears, and then put your soul into your hammer." As Welf says, "To hell with the Crozzo family. All I care about right now is finishing this freaking sword." As we suddenly hear, "Why are you swinging your hammer?" As he says, "To craft a weapon." Then gets asked, "Okay, then why are you crafting a weapon?" Look deep inside yourself, and no cop-out answers as they ask again, "Who are you crafting these weapons for?" And it's here we see that it finally clicks into Welf's mind as he says, "It's for my friends." How could I have forgotten something so painfully obvious? Why do I craft weapons? I do it for Belle, for my friends. And it's here through the power of friendship, baby. We see that Welf is able to finally start forging this metal as he says, "I see it now. It doesn't matter how powerful they are. An ordinary magic sword isn't gonna cut it. A magic sword will always break. Eventually its wielder has to say goodbye. So all I have to do is forge a blade to beat all blades. An indestructible magic sword. I need a weapon of divine power, a weapon of the highest caliber." And it's here as we see this weapon being forged, Welf says, "Hang in there, Belle. I'm not going to turn my back on you. We'll walk side by side. In fact, if you're not careful, I might even leave you and Lady Hephaestus in the dust." And it's here as we see their defense line breaks and the monsters come barreling in, we just see fire all of a sudden. As we see Welf standing there with his brand new sword as he says, "Sorry for the wait, guys." And as we get a good look at his sword, it looks dope, actually. As we see more monsters are coming in and Welf says, "My magic alone won't be enough. Can you lend me a hand?" And as we see more monsters come barreling in, we see Welf and Cassandra completely eviscerate them with the sword. It's honestly a very cool scene. And once the monsters are gone, Welf says, "This is a shatterproof magic sword. The blade and its wielder work hand in hand, standing by each other for life." And it's here Cassandra realizes, wait, that's what the last part of the prophecy meant when it says the great day star's golden rays. And with quite literally a fire being lit in him, Welf says, "This is just the beginning. The first steps of my journey to take my skills to new heights." As he tells everyone, "You put your lives in my hands. Now I'm giving them back. Gear up, everyone. It's time to go find Belle." And with that, our episode ends. I actually really like this development, to be honest, and I really hope that Welf keeps the sword. As dope as it would be to see Belle with this sword, I think the sword should absolutely stay Welf's. You know, this should be his go-to weapon from now on. I would actually really like to see that, because this is huge growth for him. He's finally stepped into his own completely, I would say. I'd argue Welf's character development's kind of done at this point. He might not have any more throughout the rest of the show, but this is a good turning point for him and a good stepping stone for him to become a character like Belle, who can stand up on his own 2 feet and do the things he wants to do. I quite like this a lot. But you guys let me know what you thought of this episode down below. Like I said, things are turning around now and being more positive for once. We're seeing everyone has a plan and everyone's moving forward with that plan. Even Belle and Ryu are on their feet moving now. So Hopefully things will turn around, even though I think things are going to get pretty sad soon. But we'll have to wait and see to find that out. But until next time, guys, I hope you have a great day, week, month, and year. And until then, deuces, have a blessed day. I will see you guys next time.